People, welcome to the League Talk Podcast. I'm your host, Shane Youman. Well, I'm not your host today. I'm on the other side of the table. I'm actually going to be your guest. I've been doing this podcast for a little while, and I've always heard some things from people like, hey, man, you should share your story. You should do this, you should do that. Well, today, on this episode, I'm going to share my story, my journey to the major leagues. It's kind of, I don't know, I'm pretty superstitious, so me and numbers, choosing this episode, which overall is episode 24. My favorite number is 24. One of my favorite numbers is 24. One of my favorite ball players wore that number, King Griffey Jr. And if you guys have been following, the first season was 16 episodes. My favorite pitcher, Doc Gooden, Dr. K. He wore number 16 coming up with the Mets and doing this major league time with the Mets. He wore that number. A guy I always followed and admired as a baseball player, as a pitcher. And again, like I said, this is episode 24 out of the 2 seasons. Number 24 for King Griffey Jr. Another number 24, RIP to my man, CJ, Cedric Harris Jr. His dad wore this number at LSU. He wore the number 24 during his playing time on the baseball field, on the football field. Whenever he could have that number, he wore it. So, what I say, dealing with numbers and things of that nature, it's only right that I hop on and share my story for episode 24 for multiple reasons. Couldn't do it by myself. Got one of my homeboys with me that's going to take over the hosting duties. He was on the show in the past, I think episode 2 in season 1. Mr. Charlton Jimerson, former big league player himself. You guys know, if you watch the podcast, you know all about CJ. Chewy J, Charlton Jimerson. We got a bunch of nicknames for him, but he's going to take over the hosting duties. Appreciate you, man, taking the time out to turn the table on me and put me on Front Street to share my journey to the big leagues.
It's all good. It's all good. Welcome to the show.
Appreciate you.
It's been a journey with your podcast, man. So we're going to jump right into it and make this a truly memorable event.
Sure, man. I appreciate that. And like I said, the number 24 has a lot to do with a lot of things with me. And then just at this time, although it's sad and it's a situation that we never thought about happening, my homeboy, Ced Harris Jr., passing away a few weeks back. And I just want to celebrate him. And that's why I'm repping with him with the T-shirt, the Be Like CJ hashtag. Hopefully that catches on and it spreads like wildfire and we keep that legend living on.
Yeah, man. Ain't nothing wrong with being like CJ, as I'm a CJ myself, as you know, but definitely a very tragic event. And we're all supporting the Harris family in their loss. And we'll jump into that a little bit later again. But Shane Youman, we are here, and we want to know where it all started. I know folks can hear the southern tongue when you speak. So, why don't you tell us a little bit about New Iberia and the boot?
Man, New Iberia, that's a foreign land to some people when they hear it for the first time. New Iberia is a city in Louisiana, a town, should I say, about 50,000 people, just east of Lafayette, Louisiana. We basically South Central Louisiana. When you think about Tabasco sauce, you think about Louisiana hot sauce, you think about sugar cane, especially down in our area. New Iberia has all of that. We had a Tabasco factory. We had a factory that produces the Louisiana hot sauce. You have sugar cane fields all over the town, all over the city. We have a sugar mill, a lot of history down there, but a very small town, not much going on. Now that I'm older, been around the world a little bit, the town was a little too slow for me, so I had to reside elsewhere where I can keep up with the fast pace. But small town, about 50,000, close-knit community, man. A lot of sports going on out there. Everybody knows everybody. Just a humble beginning for me, not only as a person, but as an athlete as well.
I hear you. So one of the things that the boot is famous for is having a good bowl of gumbo, and we all know that gumbo can have many ingredients, and if you're cooking it for somebody from the boot, it better have the right ingredients.
Oh yeah.
So what would you say? Number one, what would you say is the perfect ingredients for your bowl of gumbo? And secondly, what would, if New Iberia was a bowl of gumbo, what would the ingredients be that you would say makes up where you came from?
Man, gumbo, you could throw anything in that thing. So I just don't want no tomatoes in my gumbo, no tomato sauce. It's a roux base. You can make it from scratch, with some flour, some grease, some water, okay. Or you can buy it in a jar. The jar of the roux is going to be a brown color. Okay. When you're making gumbo, it's either going to be on the lighter side of brown, medium, or the dark. You don't want that real light brown or no reddish tint in your gumbo. That's number one. Getting that juice right. Using the right thing to get that juice right. Being able to season it. Tony Sashery, Slap Your Mama. So many Creole seasonings coming out of Louisiana, man, that you can use to make your gumbo. Or you can just use some salt and cayenne pepper to season your water and season your roux. It really depends on you. Now, when we're talking about ingredients other than that, your chopped seasoning, your bell peppers, your onions, celery, chopping it up real good to let that cook into the roux to give it some flavor and to take that bitter taste out of that roux. Take some time, man. Making a gumbo can be an all-day affair, 3, 4, 5 hours if you want to get it right. From there, you start adding your meat. Obviously, chicken is a good base. You can go chicken and sausage. Real simple. Nice smoked sausage, man. Richards, Savoys, Manda, Mr. T. Some of those, something that's gonna really help season that juice as well. You got the chicken, like I said. You want to bake it for a little bit, brown it. You can brown it on the stove, brown it in the oven, season it up. However you want to do it, chunks of chicken, or you can do the bone-in situation. It's really up to you. And then if you want to get a little spicy with it, you can add some oysters. You can add some shrimp. Okay. You can add some okra. You can throw a whole lot of stuff in there, man. And make that gumbo, man. But you don't want to put no tomato chunks, and you don't want no red sauce. That's just what it is. Once you get the juice right, you put whatever you want inside that thing, some crab, whatever it is, and make your gumbo, man. And you definitely got to get it over some rice. Use a little extra Tabasco, Louisiana, if you want a little spicy. Gumbo filet, some little green flakes, look like parsley. Sprinkle that in there too for some flavor. And you got your bowl of gumbo. Put some potato salad on the side, get you some bread, whatever it might be, man. So you dress it up how you want, man. But again, CJ, if you see some red sauce or some tomato chunks in that thing, don't mess with it. Don't mess with it. It ain't that real. Nah, it ain't that real. It ain't that real dirty. You heard me?
I hear you.
But New Iberia, man, is if I had to describe it as a pot of gumbo, I mean, we have a lot of small town, man. I grew up in an area where you're seeing people do a lot of different things. You got your hustlers, whether it's legal or illegal. You got your folks that kind of stayed in that sheltered life. You got folks that were kind of well-rounded, could hang in different environments. You got your bougie folks, your folks that thought they were all that, but were tight and wouldn't want to do other things. When you talk about bougie people, they look at this status, they want that label on that shirt, but they're always looking for a hookup or they're not taking care of what's really important. That's priorities, but they want to look good. So we got a whole bunch of type of different people. It's just that it's such a small town that people can call you out on it, and nobody's afraid. You can't really hide from what the real is and who you are in that town.
I hear you. Look, it sounds delicious. And I've had the opportunity to experience some of that going out there to your hometown with you. And, it's definitely a place where you won't go hungry.
Nah.
So you talked a little bit about the city, and growing up there. Where did you fit in as far as growing up in the city? I know you mentioned the different demographics in the city, and the different types of people and job fields and what have you. Where did you and the Youman family fit into that growing up? Where did you come from? A hardworking kind of factory family, a close knit family, a broken family? Like what was? Let the people know how you came to come to be Shane Youman, the person, growing up in New Iberia.
Oh man, it was a combination of both. If I can be honest about it, because I grew up with my grandparents. My grandmother and grandfather raised me. My mom was there, but she was working and doing a lot of things. And to this day, I don't know how that happened, where I was, growing up in the house with my grandparents. My mom was, a couple neighborhoods over, doing her thing, living her life. I saw her and things of that nature. RP to my mom's, Mary Elizabeth Youman. But everywhere, when I took my bath, when I laid my head down to sleep, when I ate, I was at my grandmother and grandfather's house. So you can say my family was close knit, because at some point in time, each and every day, aunts, uncles, cousins, my mom, whoever, they were at my grandmother's house, whether it was just to hang for a little bit, grab something to eat, fellowship, whatever you want to call it. But at the end of the day, for me, and I guess this is a real definition of being a bastard child, like I didn't have that father figure as far as my biological father, but I had my mother and grandfather there. My mom was away doing her thing with work, and she had, a husband and things of that nature. So it was cool, because my street, my grandfather's house, my grandmother and grandfather's house, next door to them was my nanny, which is, people call her a godmother. We call her a nanny. My great grandfather, I was fortunate enough to spend some time with my great grandfather coming up, and that's the person who kind of got me involved with baseball. And my whole street was basically related, and across the way was an elementary school. So again, like we talked about, everybody knew everybody, and I just grew up on the street that was all family. So combination of both, man, really.
I hear you, and that's a beautiful thing, isn't it? When you when everybody can from the outside looking in, the perception could be that they're not together, but you when you're in a place where people can fill those voids, quite honestly, as a child, and I think you would agree with this, is you don't really miss what's not there, because you're supported by the folks that are there. Yeah. Whether blood family or not, there's a lot of support within your community to fill those voids, like you said, with your dad not being there, or your mom, being a couple streets down or whatever. You as a child, you feel supported nonetheless.
Yeah, I was like the youngest son, or the youngest kid. My grandmother and grandfather had 9 kids, including my mom. I grew up with my aunts and uncles. I slept in the same room. My uncles. 6 boys in one room, dog, like all in bunk beds. You know what I'm saying? And then my aunts had another room, and then my grandmother and grandfather had a room. But it was cool, man. It helped me a lot coming up, just being around them and learning a lot of things, and having that support, and really having that male figure times 7 when you talk about my uncles and then my grandfather. And if you want to add my cousin who lived next door, 8. So I had that real good upbringing when it comes to having that male figure around.
Looking to support a nonprofit that is making moves? Real Youth Mentoring is a nonprofit organization that provides support to young men across the United States, teaching them to be better scholars, better leaders, and productive members of their community. Through service, scholarship, and engagement, we address the systemic issues that often plague low-income communities while providing solutions rooted in economics and accountability. Visit our website, www.realyouthmentoring.org, to learn how you can join and learn ways that you can provide support. The change we need is here, and the change we need is now. Become a member and a supporter today.
I hear you. That's a beautiful thing. So in that, you talked about, having, family around and being in the neighborhood. At some point, you had to catch the baseball bug while in the neighborhoods. We all started playing back then when we grew up, playing in the streets and playing in the playgrounds and playing in the parks. So tell us a little bit about how you transitioned from, or how you were introduced to baseball or other sports, but really put you on the path to baseball growing up in those neighborhoods.
Man, it's crazy because, like I said, I was blessed to meet my great grandfather. He was around for 8 years of my life. So we'll walk down to his house. He had that Thunderbird and eating the sardines and cooking the pig feet and all of that stuff and watching baseball games on his little TV. A couple of his friends come over, we hang out and chill. They smoking cigars and all of that. So got introduced to the game, watching the game through my great grandfather, Ernest Darcy Sr. So from there, I had two uncles that played coming up. One of them I didn't get a chance to see, but another one of my uncles, he was playing ball at the place I ended up starting my career at. And we'd go watch the games and, little league, you go run around the fields if they're empty, or you go find the little space in the back of the field, throwing the ball to each other. You might not even have a glove. It might just be a ball in the bat. You're hitting the ball around. So that's just kind of how I got introduced to it. And I was young at the time, 3-4 years old. And then when I turned 5, my mom decided to sign me up for baseball. And that's when it all took off, playing T-ball. I had a bunch of cousins. So we'd go in the backyard of my grandmother's house and mess around, toss the ball around, hit it, all of that. Neighbors mad. My great uncle used to get mad at us all the time for hitting the ball in his yard. But, watching my uncles, watching it on the TV with my grandfather, and then later being able to enjoy baseball with my mom, watching on TV Atlanta Braves games on the daily, that kept me intrigued with the game. And just from that point on, that lets me playing other sports, meeting friends playing baseball. Hey, man, come play flag football with my team. Age 7, I start that. Around the same age, basketball, just from meeting guys playing baseball. Hey, man, we got bitty basketball. Let's go play. So I signed up for that. So just that baseball, just being around the game and finally playing in an organized setting led to me venturing out and playing bitty basketball, playing peewee football, flag football, and just kind of grooming myself up to being an athlete from age 5 to age 7 to age 9 and all the way up. But back then, though, T-ball, we had them little shorts, man, with the high socks and the ring around them. So my first year of baseball, I wore shorts. But my second year, we were able to start wearing pants and stuff like that. But in a nutshell, man, that's how things got started for me.
That's a beautiful thing. So now, just for the folks that may not have a keen ear to what you just said, bitty basketball is like is like youth basketball, like peewee football is for the youngins, right?
Yeah. You played. It wasn't on 10-foot goals at the time. You had the little brackets you could put over the backboard of 10-foot goals, and it was a white wooden backboard, and then there was a rim attached to that, and it was a rubber yellow basketball. I can't pronounce the name of the brand, but it's MIKASA. I don't want to jack the name up, but we played with that ball. You didn't get on a 10-foot goal until you were 13 years old, 14 years old. You could play that, but if you were in bitty basketball, I believe it was an 8-foot goal from age 7 till 12 years old. You could play on that height of goal. I know things have changed now. I think bitty is still out there, but you see a lot of kids graduating to the 10-foot goal real early. But that was bitty basketball. And they had nationals and all of that stuff. You can win a national championship in bitty basketball and all that. So
cool. So you did that. It's one of the things that really stood out is that you mentioned a couple of sports that you were interested in and participated in, not just baseball as a biddy. And and that led you to kind of hone in on those development skills in all areas, not just in one sport. So I think that's a beautiful thing when a kid can be exposed to multiple sports and get the development and skills from different areas. That's not just one central focus on one sport year round long. So that's a great thing. I think now we're working our way up into our adolescence and our teenage years, and what comes to mind is the well-known Nish in New Iberia Senior High School that I know you attended. Tell us a little bit about Nish and the people that have preceded you before you got there, and then the people that you went to school with that are notable names, so that people know, just about Nish and the level of talent coming out in there.
Man, that's a lot of people. If I start naming people, CJ, man, I'm gonna forget a name, and then now that I'm on Front Street and I'm the guy that's the guest, I'm gonna get all kind of flack for that. But my city was known for, we had athletes, and there was only one public high school at the time, which was New Iberia Senior High. We had a Catholic school, Catholic High in New Iberia as well. Some of the bougie folks went to that school and thought they was all that, but us public school folk, we stuck together. But a lot of athletes, man, a lot, bro. I don't want to start naming off the guys. There's so many guys from the basketball realm that possibly had opportunities to play beyond high school, to play beyond college. Didn't get those opportunities because, like I talked about, sometimes people fell into that street life or was easily persuaded into doing things that they probably shouldn't be doing, as opposed to focusing on their craft and really taking the game serious. Football was heavy. I'll name a name because he's real. I'll name a few names from the football side because they've made a name for themselves, not only in New Iberia, but across the nation. You're talking about Johnny Hector. Johnny Hector kind of paved the way for a lot of guys from the football side. Played at Texas A&M, 10 plus years in the NFL as a running back. Even back then, those guys could do whatever the hell they wanted to you on the field, and it was what it was. So he lasted 10 years in the trenches playing in the NFL. You're talking about Kerry Joseph, somebody I grew up kind of like following and idolizing. That guy was a multi-sport athlete. He played baseball, he played football, he played basketball, he threw the javelin on the track team at a 5A school, big school. When you're talking about in Louisiana, we only went up to 5A. So we had one of the biggest schools in the state. It was at the highest class when you're talking about 5A, and he was doing all those things. I mean, you talk about Mark Roman, Marcus Clavel, all these guys are mainly football guys, but those are the guys who were able to step out and make a name for themselves. Kelvin Price. I said Kerry Price. That's one of his cousins. He played ball too. Shout out to Kerry Price. But Kelvin Price, Chris Manuel, those guys were big time basketball players. Bunch of guys before them, Typhus Spencer. My cousin Brian Brown, who was a high jumper. He had a record for a long time until it was broken. Flirted with the Olympics a couple times, but didn't quite break through as one of the guys that made the team. He was always that alternate guy. Can't forget about him, man. Like I say, CJ, man, we could go on and on with a lot of guys that did a lot of things in New Iberia. I can't forget the ladies. There's a lot of ladies that did some things too. But maybe we'll jump back into that and revisit it at some other time and share the spotlight with some of the folks that made some names for themselves out of my city. Absolutely, man. Beautiful history right there with New Iberia Senior High. I got a chance to go to the school and experience, what you went through as a high school student and the campus and all that, and it's a very very close knit. I felt like very close knit alumni that really takes pride. Every city has that school or one or two schools that, they better not change the name or tear it down. I feel like I got that feel from New Iberia Senior High that if you tried to change the name or tear it down and build a new one, there would be some folks that would be highly upset. Oh yeah, definitely. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. They've added on to that school, matter of fact, because when I went to high school, we had a ninth grade, a school just strictly for ninth graders, which is New Iberia. It was New Iberia Freshman High, but prior to that, it was Jonas Henderson High. It was the segregated high school for the blacks in the town. And once they integrated, that school stayed around for a while, but then they turned it into a ninth grade only, a freshman school, New Iberia Freshman High. Now that school is Westgate Senior High School, which is another public high school. But all the guys that grew up where I grew up at, they go to that school. So I'm not gonna say all the dogs, but a lot of the dogs in sports and athletics they go to Westgate. You still got some dogs at niche, as you saw with the basketball team. Those guys can go. In every sport, it's still dogs, but now it's more opportunity for the kids to make the team. Now you got guys that get an opportunity to play because there's another high school, as opposed to we're going to pass up on you because this guy is whatever. So and you have a lot of more people going to try out because it's opportunity. But they've added on to the school. Now it's 9th through 12th grade, being that we added the new high school maybe about 20 years ago almost. But we went to a freshman high school first, then we went to niche. So they're not going to change nothing. They're only going to improve it. So we need a wood basketball court now. You know, that cement's still there. Those guys is hard on their knees. So hopefully we can raise some money to get that good basketball floor over there at niche, and we can start holding some big time tournaments and keeping guys healthy throughout the course of the season.
Absolutely. Yeah. You hit the nail on the head, you know, about, opportunities and the differences from where it was and what it is now. I want to touch on that a little bit because I think sometimes I feel like the misperception is guys like yourself that have made it to the highest level in your sport, that they were always the star no matter what level they were on. Can you tell us a little bit about where you fit in as a high school, possibly senior or junior, you know, when you got up there in that varsity level, where you fit into that group that you were competing against? Because as you said, you know, competition is ever present. If you want to get better, you've got to compete. And so, you know, being from a small town, with a high school with a lot of folks going being funneled to it, and you trying to shine, looking back on it now, where do you think you fit in as far as being the star, the superstar? Were you one of those guys that they tabbed to make it, or were you one of those guys that just constantly kept chipping away and then all of a sudden became a budding star?
Well, it's and like I said earlier when we talked about the family dynamic, it was a little bit of both, man. We had 2 little leagues in my hometown. One was we call it across the bayou, which was Evangeline Little League. And then we had the little league I played at was New Iberia Little League, which was at the air base, not too far away from my house. So you had those 2 different little leagues, and my little league, you always had a split. You know, it was just as many brothers as white kids playing the game. And there was softball back there as well. But it almost seemed as if our league was frowned upon because Evangeline had the nicer field, supposedly the better players, so on and so forth. So you looked at those guys and oh man, you know what it is, like living in the suburbs and living in the hood almost. Although it wasn't like that. It was just 2 areas. And it seemed as if that area was taken care of a little bit better than the area I was in. So you look at that from that standpoint. I was a star at my little league, right? But if you had to combine the 2, I might be in the middle of the pack.
Got you.
For whatever reasons. But what benefited me was being left-handed, number one, and being able to pitch. You know, Robert Stutz, my first kid pitch coach, what they call it now, kid pitch. When I was 9 years old, he taught me how to pitch, man. He taught me how to step off and to wind up and lift my leg. Him, Otto Vital Sr., Albert Jones Sr., that was my 3 coaches. When my first year in kid pitch, they put me on the mound because I was a lefty. Hey, man, you got to pitch. They showed me how to pitch. And from there, you know, watching these games on TV, trying to emulate what I saw on TV in the backyard with my homeboys or wherever I could. That's how I kind of got into pitching. But middle of the pack guy, if you combined both leagues, right? For whatever reasons, they're lower. It looked better over there, right? So those guys are superstars. They had on Oakleys and shit. You know what I'm saying? So, some cats might
bats. Shiny bats and everything.
The Mizuno, you know, the Mizuno gloves with the pad on it. It's like Ricky Henderson batting gloves. You know, them boys is getting all of that stuff. So when I got to high school, man, and leading up to middle school, it was kind of always like that, you know, especially once those leagues combined. When we turned 13 and got to Pony and Coat League, I made the all-star teams and things of that nature. But again, being a lefty was the thing that kind of helped me out. High school came around. You know, like I know sometimes it's politics, you play seniority. Played the 9th grade year. My 10th grade year, I played JV I got like 1/3 of an inning in varsity, bro, on the mound. It might have played one inning in right field, but you had guys in my class that were sophomores that the coach thought they were, a little bit more advanced and played ball. They started they got starts in varsity and stuff like that. So it wasn't until my junior year I started to peak because my summer went well. And I always played basketball too. I gave up football. So I played basketball in high school, throughout high school. So, you did the same thing. Coming into the season a little late, you had to play a little catch up. But for me, I think I just had to continue to kick the door down and show that I had the skill to play at a high level so that the coaches, even though they watched me as a youngster, they could respect what I could do on the baseball field.
Yeah, definitely. Most definitely. So as you start to garner respect and gain, local attention, tell us about, also what I feel is a misperception is that as a high school student athlete, you already have an inside track to where you would like to go to pursue your higher education. And that's not always the case. Sometimes it can be even more difficult because you have the skills and the talents in a sport and, pretty good, should be a pretty good student to help balance that student athlete moniker, that it can become overwhelming to try to choose where you're going to go next. Tell us a little bit about how you ended up where you ended up. I won't tell folks, but tell us where you ended up after leaving Nish.
Well, it was a journey, man. Like I said, things took off my junior year coming out of basketball, bro. Pitching my first game, my first tournament was against one of the best teams, if not at the time, the best team in the state, Barb Senior High School in Lake Charles, Louisiana. They were always nationally ranked. I mean, that's the first team we playing against a high school team. They got come out songs, you know what I'm saying?
Right.
They got songs they playing for these guys to come to bat. Never seen it, never heard it before. Right. So I don't know any better, man. I'm just out there playing, bro. I'm just out there pitching, whatever. I know it's Barb. I know they're good, blah, blah, blah. But as far as like knowing that there's 15 scouts in the stands, you know what I'm saying? Whether it's pro scouts, college, a mixture of them, or what have you, I'm out there just pitching, doing my thing, not knowing any better. And next thing you know, man, this guy, black guy, Art Garner, I believe his name is. I don't know if he's still with us or not, but came over and handed me a little postcard looking thing. It was a questionnaire just basically to fill out my information for the MLB Scouting Bureau. And I'm like, I don't know no better, dog. CJ, it's cold. So guess what? I had like a little old school Orlando Magic long sleeve starter, long sleeve shirt. If I showed you the pictures, you'd know what I'm talking about. I just kind of cut the neck so you don't see the blue and white lines. That was my sleeves. So I don't have nothing. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. So, I get that. I feel it out, man. And it just still don't hit me. You know what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Still don't hit me that, oh, man, he looks at you as possibly being a draft pick or something, or some person that Major League Scouts would be interested in. Mind you, that same year, I'm watching Mark Roman, I'm watching Marcus Lovell, two of the biggest recruits at that time coming out of Iberia. You got LSU, you got Arkansas, you got Mississippi State. Every day at school, you got a coach from a different college coming over to sit down and talk with these guys. So when you said it about being hectic, I saw how hectic it was for those guys. It never got to that point with me, but I got those letters in the mail and stuff like that. It just never really clicked until probably going into my senior year, when you start getting those phone calls from the coaches. You start getting those real questionnaires, not only from the scouting bureau, but from actual Major League Baseball teams that is like, man, this might be real. But that senior year, I got that letter from LSU. And that's when it really, I ended up going to LSU, obviously. But that's when it really hit me. And it's like watching these guys on the College World Series. My junior year, not knowing any better, telling a couple of my teammates, man, I'm going to LSU. Hadn't got a letter, no attention from LSU yet. These boys laughed at me. Whether they thought I was crazy or took me for granted, didn't think I was that good. Two of the boys that played on Evangeline Little League that thought, they thought they was the shit back in the day. But lo and behold, the next year I started getting attention from LSU. And that journey, it didn't go quite the way it looked, because they were pushing me to go JUCO first. You know, I'm a young, you were a young senior just like me. We probably could have stayed in school another year and really boost our stock up. So I ended up signing with a JUCO after my senior year. Did well. Honorable mention, all state, all district, all of that stuff. Still, I like
what JUCO was that?
JUCO was Meridian Community College in Meridian, Mississippi. They were a powerhouse at the time. They were really good. Signed with them actually. That same summer, I got drafted by the Dodgers, and then played in the summer, American Legion, no select ball, maybe $35, $40 to sign up for American Legion. And my scout followed me, man. My scout followed me for the Dodgers all summer and ended up making me a real offer, being drafted in the 45th round. And at around that same time, LSU came calling like, hey, we don't want you to go JUCO. We want you to come straight here. Sat down and met with Skip Bertman face to face, virtually like I'm talking to you. I was across the table from this man, and he told me some words that I wanted to hear. Hey, you're going to get an opportunity to pitch. You're not going to come in here and just red shirt. And that was it, man. The Dodgers scout was a little upset with me. Shout out to Mike Luzinger. He's still around scouting for the Yankees. You know, seeing and talked to him back in December. He was a little upset because like, man, you're going to get hurt. You're going to get abused over there, blah, blah, blah. But it was my dream school, bruh. So I couldn't pass it up. Just like, you know, you going to Miami, having that opportunity, I couldn't pass it up. So, you know, I say that to say this, with everything that was going on coming up, not really being, I won't say not really being taken seriously, but not really looking at it from the standpoint of, okay, this guy he's going to be able to write his own ticket, or he's going to be able to go to the school that he wants to once he graduates high school. Things just kind of happen. And I was oblivious to it all, but at the same time, fortunate.
I hear you, and it couldn't have been stated any better. The fact that there was multiple levels to and multiple ingredients, like we talked about that pot of gumbo. There was multiple opportunities, and sometimes you just have to follow your heart and follow the guidance of the people, the loved ones, you know, your support circle. You know, everyone should have their personal board of directors, if you will. And I'm sure you had yours from uncles to friends, to coaches, to teachers, people that really, you know, inject their wisdom into a young man like yourself trying to make, you know, basically life decisions at that point in time.
Oh, definitely, man. I definitely had a team. And at that point in time, man, it's crazy because September of my senior year in high school, I finally meet my dad for the first time. There was some stuff that happened that summer where, you know, me and my mom, we get summons into this place to take blood tests, to do blood work. I don't know what's going on. And then, you know, a couple months later, I get a letter from my dad, a picture of him and things like that. And, you know, that relationship started when I was 16 years old, just starting out my senior year in high school. But obviously he played a part in the decision and helping with that. You know, you had mentors and coaches like Buzz Sestia, Zeke Elliott, my high school coach, Greg Boutreau, Coach Glenn Fondal, who was my basketball and football coach in middle school, man. I might forget a name or two, but, you know, those guys kind of, Shane Fauché, who was my summer league coach, they kind of, whether I needed a ride somewhere, Shane Fauché took me on a recruiting trip to Northwestern, Buzz Sestia took me to LSU. Zeke Elliott taught me to change up and just pitching mechanics. I never knew anything about pitching until I played in the summertime at 16 years old with my American Legion team. So they started showing me different aspects of the game, or like I said, giving me that ride or taking me on that trip, man, because, you know, we couldn't do it. You know, they all played a part in grooming me as a ball player, but more importantly, as a person.
Absolutely.
Not to mention my aunts and uncles and grandmother and grandfather who kind of kept me in line.
Yeah, you got to mention those names because those are the people that, number one, they're never going to let you forget, right?
Yeah. I mean, I can't.
I remember when you.
Yeah, it's another name, man. Don't mean to cut you off. It's another name, Mike Rose. My first football coach, man. I'd never ran laps or anything like that, or never even yelled at as an athlete, man. He used to make us run. He'd jump our butts. He'd do a lot of stuff to get the best out of us. And it was all in good. It wasn't nothing to where he was going overboard with anything. You know, maybe even the way he was back then, nowadays, he'd be in a hell of a lot of trouble if he was a coach now. So, because times have changed. But, yeah, man, all those guys, Robert Stutz, as I mentioned earlier, everybody that coached me, man.
Absolutely. So now we're a Louisiana State University Tiger, and we're on campus. We're now in Baton Rouge, which to tell the folks how far away Baton Rouge is from New Iberia.
About an hour and 15-minute drive. Not too far. So, but just far enough. I didn't have a car. I didn't even have a license when I went to college. So it's not like I could have gone back and forth to the crib, back to school. So short trip, man. Short trip.
So now am I right by saying I know New Orleans is probably the big city, right?
Yeah.
But is Baton Rouge a bigger city than New Iberia than what you grew up? Okay, so
way
now
big,
we're
think about this though. Think about this. It's 30,000 on campus. It's the capital, but it's 30,000 on campus. We only had about 50,000 in my city.
Right. So did you have any hesitation? I know you put it in your heart and you put it in your mind. You spoke it into existence as a junior at Nish, but were there any reservations when it actually was coming into fruition as you arrived on campus? Did you feel, anxiety? A lot of people that grew up in small towns and they go to the big city, they get there and they feel like a fish out of water, if you will, or they feel like this isn't just that good home feeling. So I feel, out of place. Tell us a little bit about how you integrated into that LSU campus and with your new team.
Well, it wasn't really like a culture shock to me at all when you talk about being somewhere else that's just the campus itself is almost as big as your hometown. I had a few homeboys that went to Southern, had quite a few homeboys that also went to LSU. So those are the guys that I kind of hung out with, grew up with, coming up in Iberia. So I had that comfort level from that aspect. So the biggest adjustment was being able to find them classes. You know what I'm saying? Those buildings, because the campus is so big. And you got to know where you're going because you might have a 9 o'clock class, 50-minute class. You get out at 9:50 or whatever. The next class is at 10:10. You got to be able to know where you're going. So that was the biggest adjustment, just being able to maneuver around campus and find your way. But other than that, having that close-knit group as far as the LSU Tiger baseball team, that was another thing. One of the things I wish I would have done in school was maybe pledge to a fraternity. But at the time, when you look back, I didn't really have time to do that because you had your baseball boys and the regulations were a little bit looser back then because baseball had you all the time, fall, spring, right. You was in baseball, so you really didn't have the time to do so. But, to answer your question, man, it wasn't really a tough adjustment aside from finding the classes and just being able to know how to maneuver around the campus because I had friends and stuff like that and my baseball teammates to help me adjust and get around.
Absolutely. So you're on campus. You spoke briefly about the legendary Skip Burton, who you got a chance to play for, and we all know the history of LSU baseball. There are many appearances in the College World Series, the titles that they were able to win. Tell the folks your experience playing there and the College World Series and possibly where y'all ended up in one of those years.
Yeah, man, it was crazy because think about it. For me, a lot of things happened quickly, real fast. As I stated before, signed with a JUCO, had started getting attention from pro scouts, colleges, ended up getting drafted. And then next thing you know, I'm on LSU's campus. Didn't even have classes. I'm sitting in classes hoping somebody drop or hoping they let me in. That's how late I signed. I signed a week before classes started. So I was hustling and bustling, making sure I can get into classes because it was so late. But, those guys that won back-to-back national championships, 96, 97, I'm there in the fall of 97 as a freshman, young, wet behind the ears. You mentioned my twang earlier. I'm on campus at LSU. I'm still in Louisiana, but dudes are like, what are you saying? What are you like? They're asking me to repeat myself. And more than half the team is from Louisiana. So being able to adjust to that and adjusting the way I talk and carry myself, that came with the territory over time. And just being around these guys that went about their business, grown men, bro. Now that was a pot of gumbo because you had the guys that took care of business in the classroom and on the field, may have not been on scholarship. You had your big time prospects, that came there. They were, they went about their business and balled out. You had your guys that were a combo of that. Now you had your rowdy cats that used to be hung over and get 3 hits in the game, go out there and party and drink. So we had all of that, man. And it was a cool environment, but that part of it was a culture shock to see being around grown men and seeing what they do and still be able to go out there and perform at a high level, something I had never seen before. But, learning how to be humble, learning how to pay your dues, all of those things as a freshman, I got a taste of because we had to clean the field. We had to rake the mound. We had to fix the bullpen. We had to pick up the cups in the dugout, take out the trash, clean the locker room, clean the coach's office. We had to do all of that stuff. And if we didn't do it as freshmen, if we failed our duties, the upperclassmen took care of that. They took care of us, not the coach, but the upperclassmen. So learning that respect, learning how to earn your stripes, pay your dues, all of those things came first. The ball game and the playing side of it came next. And I think that's how Skip Bertman got the best out of his players as a coach. He was an excellent motivator, whether he had to tear you down or make you feel like you were better than what you really were. He knew how to motivate a squad, but to show you humility and to teach you that, hey, you're going to be an owner and not a renter. You're going to take care of what's yours. That's the ultimate thing that led us to be in a close-knit group, and winning so much and being able to have multiple championships and going on not only as ball players beyond college, but being successful adults if you didn't get that chance to play baseball at the next level. So all of that stuff as a freshman groomed me into being around and being one of those leaders, if you would say, or one of those go-to guys when it came my time to get on the mound, do my job or help groom the freshman that was coming in into becoming a respectable young man and a good ball player, which ultimately led to me winning the national championship or us winning the national championship in 2000. It was all about that close-knit group, that family atmosphere, that brotherhood, all things included that just kind of helped us push through because we were a good team. We had good teams, but I don't think we were picked to win it that year when you talk about all the teams that were there and the teams we had to go through to get to that point.
Right. Yeah. I mean, there's no mistaking the history of championship baseball at LSU. Thinking about what you just said, and it's even kind of crazy that the two of us are able to have this podcast and collaborate, being me being from the University of Miami and you being from Louisiana State University. You talk about 96, 97 titles going to LSU, and then 98, I don't know who won, but it wasn't us. And then 99, University of Miami wins, and then 2000, LSU wins, and then 2001, the University of Miami wins. So, it's definitely a beautiful thing to have programs like that with such rich history and us be a part of that. And I know you have experienced memories from going to Omaha, and I believe you would have had to play in the old stadium too at Rosenblatt.
Oh yeah, Rosenblatt, the Black.
Yeah, the Black. So those memories, as you know, will never fade. They're always kind of nostalgic and indelible memories when you see the College World Series roll around each year and the boys get to buzzing about who's going to win. And for you, I know you can speak to this as well. It doesn't start at the College World Series level. And I know you kind of hinted at that, working your way up through the regionals. And then, towards the end of our college careers, the super regional was introduced. Yeah. But tell us a little bit briefly about who were some of the in-state or close area rivals? Because I know for us, we knew the road had to go either through us or through Florida State. What was it for LSU? And I can't leave out, the Florida Internationals of the world and possibly, facing University of Florida as well. But Florida State was definitely, our in-state rival, our close rival. And then Florida International was our midweek rival, where if we slipped up, they was going to give us, the business. So tell us who was LSU's kind of local rival, and then the path you knew you had to get through in order to make it to the College World Series.
Well, at that time coming up, we had Louisiana Lafayette, who prior to was USL, University of Southwestern Louisiana. They later changed to University of Louisiana at Lafayette. They were always really good. Tony Robichaud, rest in peace. He was the head coach at the time, had been the head coach prior to that. They always put out some really good teams. BJ Ryan, who was a big league vet, he pitched over there. Guy didn't look like he can pitch at all. And the next thing you know, he's pitching 10 years in the big leagues. But anyway, that was one school. You're talking about Northeast Louisiana, who changed to Louisiana at Monroe. They had Ben Sheets, who was nasty, big time, big leaguer. So anytime LSU played Louisiana Monroe, you knew who he was facing. Yeah. Ben Sheets was getting on that mound. They had another lefty that was real good. I forget his name. Kenny Hollaback. Those two guys, if we had to see those two guys, it was going to be a long day. We had to scratch some runs and get things done. But those two teams were pretty tough at the time. You're talking about Tulane, who offensively, they were real dangerous every year. They could always put up runs. Out of those three, I would say Tulane was our biggest rival because we had to try to keep those bats cool and sustain those leads if we had them and not let them get too much in a groove with swinging those bats. But those three schools in state, every now and again McNeese State, but I would say those three on a consistent basis, if we ran into them during a midweek, it was going to be hell because Ben Sheets could throw on Tuesday night and then start again on Friday or Saturday in a conference game. And then, like I said, Tulane, because offensively they were so strong, it didn't even matter who they put on the mound because they was going to put up some runs against whoever they faced. But and then Louisiana Lafayette had a combination of both. So those three schools for sure. And then, we could jump in a conference if you wanted to jump into the conference rivalries.
SEC, yeah.
Yeah, it's a dogfight every weekend. As you know now, it's about 4 or 5 teams in the top 10 right now. Sadly, LSU is not one of them. We're having a tough year, but just look at how strong the conference is year in and year out. I remember when Vanderbilt used to be a doormat. You go to Vandy, you got at least 2 wins. You're probably going to sweep them. But now they're the number 1 team in the nation. So, number 2 team now.
It is crazy, as you mentioned it. I became accustomed to seeing teams like Mississippi State bidding for the College World Series, or Alabama bidding for the College World Series. And you're right, it does change. The landscape does change over the years, but some of those staples like LSU consistently remains a competitor no matter what their record is. If they can get into the tournament, they'll be able to make some noise, especially with the fan base that you guys have in the field. I mean, it's just crazy, guys. People cooking gumbo outside and crawfish and
everything,
sailors and everything. So, yeah, for sure, LSU is world renowned, at least in the baseball world.
Oh yeah, another place like that is Mississippi State. I don't know if you've been to that stadium or even seen it on TV. It's a unique setup, man. And it's probably the biggest stadium in the SEC now. But, they got those cowbells ringing right above you. And then the outfield, it's all chain. It used to be all chain link. And people could buy little sections. So they set it up however they want.
There.
Yeah,
barbecuing. Say whatever they want.
It's smoking. It's smoke everywhere, man. And all of that stuff. They'd be on you during the game and be ready to feed you after the game. Kind of like the LSU vibe. But, man, every week when you talk about going to Bama, going to Mississippi State, Ole Miss, just think that's the same division, LSU. I just named off about 4 or 5 teams in the same. Arkansas. Anytime you went to Arkansas, this time of year it's cold. It might be rainy. You got to adjust to the elements. So it was every weekend was a dogfight. Right.
I hear you. So now you're approaching. You're a grown man. You're doing grown man stuff. As you
trying to.
You talked about
trying to.
we talked about how some of those upperclassmen were the leaders as they were seniors and possibly juniors, and now when it became your turn to be a leader amongst men, now you're facing again that decision that we talked about in high school, where that path could end here because there's no level after being a senior. You can go to grad school, but as far as playing baseball, it's pretty much a wrap. So tell us about what you're thinking at this point in your career. You got a national championship under your belt. You've been drafted in the past. You've been to JUCO. You can pitch. You become a lefty that is trusted on the mound, and your value at this point. I'm pretty sure. Where are you? Where are you mentally, and what are you feeling are your chances to pursue a professional baseball career, and how did that come into play?
Well, the good thing about it, man, CJ, is at LSU, like we said before, with the leadership and things, and the upperclassmen, I'm sure just like at Miami, kind of ran the team, policed the team, and if the head coach had to step in, he would. So, at LSU, we always had somebody to pass the torch. You always had that guy, that fifth-year senior, or that guy who played as a true freshman and wasn't a pro guy per se, may have gotten a chance, but he stayed those 4 years. We always had those guys in line. So, coming up through as a freshman, having a red shirt, had to have surgery, having a red shirt, not getting able to pitch, just kind of learning some things from guys and just kind of really observing what's going on, to now getting a little action my sophomore, with my redshirt freshman year. And then the year we won a national championship, I thought I was going to get drafted as a third-year sophomore. Doing well out of the pen, was one of the go-to guys out of the pen, if not the go-to guy out of the pen before we got to our closer. Whether or not I wrote too big of a check and submitted it to the scouts, they didn't want to draft me, but I didn't. I mean, my coach Skip Bertman even said, hey, he pulled me off of the bus one time at Ole Miss. Like, hey, man, you're doing well. Let me know about when you get drafted, kind of. Just like he knew the writing was on the wall.
Right.
But it didn't happen. And for whatever reasons, I don't know. So that next year, instead of being a relief pitcher, I'm looked upon as being a starter. So I go up there, I'm doing my thing. I'm healthy, I'm strong, the surgery is holding up, no setbacks. And come out the gates, boom, I'm on it. Right. So I'm Usain Bolt for that last 100 meters out the gate. You know what I'm saying? So, things are looking good. Every guy like that came through LSU that 1 year, all you needed was that 1 year. You're drafted to go out there and shine.
Because it's a respectable program.
Exactly.
It's a respectable program. So, they know what the work you're putting in the back end. Uh-huh.
And they think they already compared the SEC with the aluminum bats to being AA caliber baseball. So, I hit a wall once conference started. Boom. Started getting hit a little bit. The next thing you know, things started crumbling. And never was able to really bounce back. I showed some bright spots here and there, but never was able to bounce back and finish off the way I started. But on the flip side, Skip Bertman was going to retire, and we were bringing in a new head coach. I had another year. I could have come back for my 5th year. And I got drafted 43rd round. I'm like, I was sleeping, bro. I was sleeping when I got that call. I just laughed because I'm like, come on, bro.
Yeah.
Come on, man. But my scout, it's unique. My scout was a coach at Nicholls State University in Louisiana, and he recruited me there. And then he ended up going over to Louisiana Monroe and almost kind of trying to get me to transfer.
Right.
But I didn't do it. And the next thing you know, he was a scout for the Pirates. And it's crazy how it all came full circle. He was a guy that always liked me, wanted to draft me that previous year, but wasn't quite sure if I was signed. And then ended up drafting me my 4th year as a 4th-year junior. And with Skip retiring, we know how that goes, CJ. You never know what can happen with a new head coach coming in.
Of course.
And for me, I played that summer in a college summer league, did well, made a little money for the 43rd round. I was like, you know what? Let me go ahead and take this. I'm not going back to LSU because I don't know what's going to happen. And that's how the journey started, man, to being a professional baseball player.
So drafted to the Pittsburgh Pirates. off of those relationships. Now, one thing I think that you said that was important to capture, not necessarily to continue speaking on, but you said that the scout that ended up drafting you wanted to draft you the year before, but didn't know if you would sign. I think, sometimes our youth loses opportunities because they're not open to everything, and at least showing everybody that you're open to hearing them out and you're open to opportunities. Sometimes it's body language that makes it feel like you won't sign, or it's that small, very condensed conversation that they may have with you before or after a game while they can, to just say hi and see how you accept their conversation. So I think it's important that you say that, because a lot of stuff, as you know, in this game, it goes unspoken. And once somebody says, "Oh, he's not going to sign. He's going to do this or going to do that," and then the scout starts talking to each other, and now all of a sudden you become somebody that's not going to sign, even though everybody hasn't had the opportunity to have a conversation with you and see where your mindset is. So I think you would agree that does occur on the back end.
Yeah, I mean, it's and exactly what you said. I spoke to a bunch of scouts that year. My third year, my redshirt sophomore year, I was having meetings with scouts in a meeting room, out there on the field in the grandstand, and my thing, and think top 10 rounds. The fact that I passed up six figures out of high school, I'm thinking I need to at least get that, 150, at least 150 or something like that. And I know within the top 10 rounds, it's possible for you to get that type of money back then. Now you can get it because it's slotted and obviously inflation and all of that. But back then, if you was out those top 10 rounds, for the most part, unless you were a high school guy, you're not going to get that type of money. So, six figures was on my mind, and having those meetings and discussing, hey, top 10 rounds, especially seeing my homeboy Sid Harris Jr., this man Pops, Sid Harris Sr., got drafted in the top 10 rounds the year before and got a decent signing bonus and started his career. He was one of those guys who kind of showed me the ropes through college, and just watching how he took care of business leading up into the draft and then taking the money. I wanted to be in that situation as well. It didn't happen. So because of word of mouth, I would have signed for $50,000. Who knows? But
right.
But it didn't happen. But like you said, word of mouth, people talk, news travel, and it might cause other organizations to shy away from you and not take that chance because they heard something from another two guys that, oh, he's wanting top 10 round money or what have.
Absolutely. And just to hit on Cedric Harris Sr., I mean, I can remember watching that guy in the College World Series just dominate in that 2000 World Series, if I'm not mistaken. And I got the opportunity to kind of follow suit in 2001. But, yeah, definitely an amazing player. I got the chance to meet him, as you know, working in New Iberia with your Truman organization. The True You Foundation. It's just amazing to see. Hear you say two guys, black men, with the opportunity to receive six-figure money in their early 20s and not have to sell drugs or rob and steal or kill. That money's there in our sport, and like you said, it showed its opportunity years prior, and then it resurfaced again later in your career as you stayed on that path and stayed on the straight and narrow and continue to pursue your goal. So I think that's a beautiful thing.
Yeah, man, appreciate it. Living testament, man. You grew up in the same type situation, could have went one way or the other. You know what I'm saying? You're all, and that other way was always there. It was always there. So, fortunate not to have to go that route.
Yes. So we're now a Pittsburgh Pirate, and we're working our way. As we all know, there's several levels, and now, again, just to set the stage, you're in high school when you're thinking about what's next as far as higher education or professional ball. And then once you get into to college, now you have those levels again where you progress from being a sophomore to a junior. So you kind of have it established again, what's next. And then you face that decision again as you leave LSU. And now you have these new levels set. And I always looked at the minor leagues as steps on the staircase. But that last step to the major leagues being 4 or 5 times bigger, or even higher than the steps that were all the same size along the way. Walk us through that staircase to your major league opportunity as you're flowing through the minor leagues.
Well, you see, it's crazy, man. Obviously, leaving big time programs, like they say, Power 5 programs now. You left Miami in 01, the same time I did, or 02. I left in 01. The luxury, flying everywhere. You know what I'm saying? Got the nice sweatsuit or the nice button up in polos. All those things, you know, they got food coming into the locker room. You know, the glitz and glam, and you get the Nike deal. You get the gloves. And now you're in pro ball. Never heard those stories prior to, because every fall and early spring, you had the former players coming back to work out. But they was always kind of helping you hone your craft, and just being around those guys, you're getting better. But you never hear about the bus trips. You never hear about the shitty stadium. You know what I'm saying? All those things that when you walk out there your first time, not necessarily in spring training. Some organizations, spring training is a shit show too with the facilities. But I was fortunate, except for the dorms. The dorms at Pirate City were terrible. Mm-hmm. But the playing services and the locker room, that was all nice. So having to adjust to kind of being getting the best of the best, and then now it's an even playing field when you talk about facilities and things like that. You might not get the nicer facilities. Let you know, or puts it into perspective, should I say, and forces you to make a decision. Hey man, do I really want this, or is this something I'm just trying to do? It definitely separates you, man. And from that point, you know, I knew once I got the opportunity, man, I want to be a big leaguer. It wasn't easy, wasn't a prospect, because I was a 43rd rounder. Had to really grind my way through pretty much every level. Didn't get a chance to break camp. Had to stay in extended spring, which was a grind, 2-a-days, practice, game. You know, all this other foolishness. It's hot in Florida. Then finally getting to go to play in Williamsport, Pennsylvania, short season, having a great year, great first season, going into the instructional leagues. I'm thinking I'm going to skip a level. Nah, don't skip a level. Got to go to the next one. The grind of it, man, but just establishing relationships, starting to meet people from other organizations. You know, I remember meeting Michael Bourne, who I saw in college my last year, played against college as a freshman when he was a freshman.
At University.
Exactly. U of H, man. Then doubling back and seeing him in the minor leagues at instructional league. It's like, okay, I'm going to go holler at, you know, building those relationships. Guys that I meet within a Pirate organization from different walks of life, whether it's Latin America, whether it's the U.S., West Coast, East Coast, down South, Midwest. Walter Young, rest in peace, Big Walt, gave me the best piece of advice that I could ever get as a professional ball player. You know, we were Locker Mason Instructional League, and he was like, hey, man, you're either early or you're late. You're never on time. And what he meant was, if stretch is at 9:50, you need to be out there at 9:40, 9:35, because it might be a meeting or whatever. And CJ, you know, like I know, if you ain't out there, they taking money out your pocket. They ain't about to make you run no polls. So just learning those little things, combining that with the maturity that I was able to establish or grow into, going to college and learning certain things, it kind of made it a little easier for me. But it was tough because money wasn't invested in me in the draft. I was a relief pitcher. Fortunately, I was a left-hander. And that kind of kept me around, because rumor has it I was going to get released after my first spring training. And I just grinded it out, man, and just kind of found out some things about myself. Enough coaches cared about me and was in my corner to help me push through. And it wasn't until maybe 2005 when I met you that I thought I had a real chance to be in a big league pitcher, having a good year in AA, going to the fall league, and following up that next year with a great season. Even though I wouldn't put on a 40-man roster, I was a bit upset about that. But around that time, 04, 05, I started to see myself being a real major league prospect. Even though I might have not been tabbed or labeled as a prospect, I knew enough about myself and about what I was doing on the field that led me to believe that I was going to get that chance some way, somehow, whether it's with the Pirates or somebody else. For
sure, yeah. I remember those days. You know, the Pirates organization was one to be reckoned with back then. You know, the games that I've played against Hickory or against Lynchburg were always difficult with the amount of talent that you guys had. Yeah. And it was just, I could just remember so many guys, like you mentioned Walter Young. You had a guest on your show earlier in Vic Butler, and even with Sean Smith.
Yeah.
You know, there was another guy, I forget his name, but I think it was Jeremy
Hartz.
Jeremy Hartz. I mean, just throwing gas from the left-hand side from right field. Man, it was crazy. So I definitely remember those days that you're talking about as far as being on the other side of the field. And then you mentioned us meeting in the Arizona Fall League and just seeing you on the other side. And as you also alluded to, you know, that with Michael Bourne, not only people that you've seen before in college or whatever, but just seeing a familiar face on the other side, another black player, another black brother. We collaborated, whether it was in season or in the Arizona Fall League, you know, to have that, you know, chalk line talk or, hey, what are you guys doing after the game? You know, you want to go grab something to eat or you know, I'm gonna come pick you up and take you to the mall.
Yeah.
Before, and you know, those type of things definitely builds a camaraderie that lasts throughout your career. And you have shown a lot of those relationships go past baseball. They end up being lifetime friendships.
Yeah, man. Hell yeah. That's what it's all about at the end of the day. When you really look at it, playing a team sport, whether it's baseball or any other sport, that's what the end all be all should be, is having those lasting relationships and learning from each other and being able to grow into men, raising kids. We both family men, you know, whatever it may be. And what's crazy, man, Corey Smith, you know, he was our guy too in the fall league. Your roommate. I was his host on his recruiting trip when he came to LSU. So it really all came full circle back in 2005 with him, you know, finally introducing us and having Mike, CY, Chris Young, you know, a bunch of other guys, Wes Littleton. I remember Wes Littleton, Bernard Span. I mean, bro, the list goes on and on. It was a bunch of guys that came through the fall league that year that were Major League ball players. That following year, you was a Major League ball player that same year, but so many of us got the opportunity after playing in the fall league to be Major League Baseball players. Right.
So you talked a little bit about your disappointment not after the fall league not being placed on the 40-man roster, but having in your heart that you were big league ready and had the skills to play in the major leagues. A lot of times that balance of feeling like you're sufficient and wanting people to kind of stamp you or to back that feeling can be an emotional battle, all while trying to compete against, you know, your competitors. Talk us through where your mindset was before you got that call to actually join the Pittsburgh Pirates in September and get called up to the major leagues, because I know for a lot of guys, it's you want that respect and that honor from your organization that say this guy can be a major leaguer and we're going to treat him as such, even if it's subtly. You can tell, you know, you've been there. You can tell the guys they kind of place favor on. But then once you get that favor, there's also this thing that you have where you try to continue to prove that you deserve that favor. So talk us through where you were mentally, and how you were dealing with those ingredients before you got the call.
Well, I mean, leading up to all of that, leading up to 2005, and actually, I was, like I said before, as a youngster in high school, I was oblivious to it all. Tyke Redmond back then, he was a big leaguer, outfielder, in and out of the big leagues. You know, he would always tell us younger guys, you know, it's tough, man. Politics plays a huge part. The business side plays a huge part. And you guys, you know, getting to certain levels. Didn't see it at the time, wasn't paying no mind. But again, I was in the lower levels, short season, low A, high A type situations. And it wasn't until I got up to Double A that you start to see it. The writing was on the wall prior to that. It was going to be a dogfight because I'm putting up these seasons, short season, didn't get a chance to skip a level, you know, do well in low A, do well in high A. I never get a mid-season call-up or nothing like that. I'm a college guy, a four-year college guy, so I'm kind of old for the levels that I'm at, but I'm never getting that extra push unless it's just for the playoffs. You know, you might go up there for 4 games, but it wasn't until, like I said, after 2005 where I was that reliever, kind of that short guy, and I grew into being a guy that came in and cleaned up the mess and became that long reliever to starting games. And at every single role that they put me in, I'm out there doing my job. I'm doing my thing. Like, and for me nowadays, you look at it now, that guy is really valuable on a big league staff.
Right.
You would think that I would at least get tabbed as being a 40-man guy. Went to the fall league on a taxi squad, which means I wasn't going to be available to pitch all the time.
Yep.
So being a guy that was on the main squad and I was traveling and doing everything every single time that we played, but didn't get put on the 40-man roster. So it was one of those things that I made up my mind, whether they thought I was crazy or not. It's like, fuck it, I'm gonna kick this door down. And that's the mentality I had going into the 2006 season, having to repeat Double A for whatever reasons. From them, CJ telling me, we're gonna continue to experiment with you as a starting pitcher because of the way you finished off 2005. But guess what? There's a pitcher that's not ready, or we don't want to send this guy up to AAA. So Shane, you're going back to the bullpen to start the 2006 season in Double A.
Right.
So what the fuck?
Right.
You know what I'm saying? Like, what's going on? So, but I still kept that mentality, like, man, I'm gonna kick this door down. I'm gonna go ahead and do my thing. And then from there, you know, a month or so in the bullpen, make a spot start here, back in the bullpen. Boom. Now I'm a main starter in Double A. And the rest was history. Got a crack in AAA for 1 game. They sent me back down to Double A, but I didn't let it deter me. And I had a tough outing in AAA. Didn't let it deter me. That tunnel vision was there, man. I'm out there every day. I could have did anything I wanted, but when I got the ball to pitch, it was gonna be lights out. And we know as baseball players, you can't live like that. You can't be living on the edge outside the field and expect to be consistently good on the field. But I was in that much of a zone that I could have done that. You know what I'm saying?
Yep.
And still didn't get that respect until after the trade deadline. I finally really got called up to AAA after the trade deadline. Boom, I hit the ground right in AAA.
Okay.
I guess they had no choice but to give me the opportunity in the big leagues after that, man. But it wasn't easy because no matter what I did, to what level I did it, they still made me work that much harder to get there. But when I got there, man, it was a sweet feeling, man. You know how it is. I don't know. I remember you talking about, you know, how you got that call and stuff like that. You know, my call sitting in the clubhouse after a loss with Vic Butler. You know, the manager comes up and tells me, you know, I'm going to Chicago. I don't know what the hell he's talking about.
Right.
And then it clicks, you know what I'm saying? And CJ, never in a million, and I know I'm getting long-winded, but never in a million years would I have thought my first game as a Major League Baseball player, I would be a starting pitcher.
Right.
I mean, even that year, I started the season in the bullpen.
Right.
My major league debut, I was a starting pitcher. So, I mean, think about that. New Iberia, Louisiana.
Yeah.
Grinding LSU, pro ball, being that little middle relief guy. Now I'm starting a game in the big leagues. Like, that shit crazy.
It's a beautiful
that shit
thing.
Crazy, man.
And it's hindsight in 2020. It's all those things that brought you to that moment, and I'm sure you can attest to that. That just kind of solidifies who you are and where you come from, and the people and community that you represent once you get there. So
with the legend Joe West behind the plate for my first game, that was a big player.
Oh yeah. So you obviously we know you've had the opportunity to make it to the major leagues, and we could talk about baseball, and I know you played some overseas ball in Taiwan and Korea and things of that nature. But, even the independent ball road with Bridgeport. But I kind of want to shift this to, you talked about where you came from and being a lefty. I'm not sure everybody would know how special a lefty is in the sport of baseball, because most of the world is right-handed, and the lefty perception of where the ball is pitched from is just outright different and difficult to be comfortable with, because you're used to seeing right-handers and things of that nature. Take that same mindset into Shane Youman as the person amongst major leaguers and amongst other people that have made it in their sport. I think you're kind of still that lefty, unicorn, if you will, in all the stuff that you have continued to do for your community, within the communities that you're in, not only back home in New Iberia, but in the Dallas-Fort Worth area. Tell us a little bit about Shane Youman as the person outside of baseball that you've been able to establish. I know you have your foundation, you have your business out there in Dallas-Fort Worth area, and you've been somewhat of a community leader and a philanthropist in bringing folks like yourself and even folks that didn't experience what you experienced together, kind of rooted in baseball, but not specifically focused in baseball. I love to hear the things that you have going on and share that with the people.
Well, a lot of that stuff comes from the grassroots, man, when you really think about it. And I think really the college side, when I went to college, that really helped me kind of broaden my horizons when it comes to the things that I'm doing now. All the things that you spoke about, but what really brings it all together is the journey, is the fight that I had to go through, same as you, to make it to the big leagues. Didn't get an opportunity to stick in the big leagues like the way I would have liked. When you talk about the business side of it, the politics, that's when you really start to see it catch up. And that really put a strain on me mentally, falling into that depressed state. As a big league baseball player, how can you be depressed? People would ask, right? They get the best of the best. But the fact that I allowed the business side to affect me mentally, that's how I fell into that. Like we talked about, the interchanging parts. You're starting, you're relieving, now you're not pitching. All of those things happen at the big league level too. So it was a fight for me mentally, man. After I thought I kicked down the door from a physical standpoint, performance standpoint, people finally saw me as a Major League Baseball player. So I got that my just due, but it was still tough, because they could, even though I was at that level, like, they can plug you in the starting rotation. They can pull you out of the starting rotation. So falling into that depressed state, almost 2 years, grinding in independent ball as we ran into each other again. Going through that time, finally got help along with my maturity in college and just kind of growth from the family standpoint. All of those things kind of stuck with me, and leading into overseas and the career I had overseas. Once I was done, I wanted to help not only baseball players, but athletes young folks, young kids in general, to adjust, man, like, it's not all just about that one thing. You got to kind of be that unicorn, like you said, and be able to tackle multiple things and be able to use the things from sport or whatever it is that you do and apply it to other phases of your life. I think going through that depressed state forced me to grow in that aspect and start thinking about all the life lessons that you learn through sport. And how can you grow as a person? How can you give back to your community to so that they can overcome whatever hurdles they come into contact with, whether it be in sport or any other walk of life. It doesn't really pertain to just sports. It pertains to life in general. So having that struggle and being able to climb out of that struggle and to make a career for myself as a ball player, and then now have the opportunity to share those things with different types of people is something that I've always wanted to do. But CJ, like I know, when you're in there, when you're in the game and you're in it deep, it's almost like you feel like you don't have time to do all of those things. So I had to get knocked down, get back up to realize that, hey man, all the stuff you've always wanted to do, all the knowledge that you're getting, all the experiences that you're having, okay, to write your story, okay, and to become a better person, you can start sharing that with these folks now to help them grow and become the people that they want to be.
Absolutely. And you have been doing that, just nonstop. I feel like since you've stepped away from, first off, since you stepped out of that depressed state. And I think that's a very important feeling that you mentioned that sometimes has a negative connotation or almost taboo to mention, because the athlete's supposed to be big and strong,
yeah,
and never backs down from a challenge. But it's different when the challenge is internal. It's just you versus you, and as a baseball player, you would know that it's not unfamiliar to challenge yourself. It's you get that mindset of it's you versus you, not you versus that batter.
Yeah.
It's not you versus Albert Pujols. It's you versus how well you can execute what you want to execute, right? But when you come to that battle with your own depression, you're not the full you, right? And you're also fighting against the negative side of you that is trying to take more space in your emotions and your willingness to do other things. So just being able to address that and refocus into what makes you happy, I think has been amazing from what I've seen. All the things that you've been able to do back home in New Iberia, and with the youth there, and then tell us about what you got going on in Dallas-Fort Worth area with your facility.
And it's a lot, it's growing, obviously, overcoming those things, as you mentioned, and as we said, as a professional athlete at the highest level, how can you be that depressed? How can you be depressed? You're making a lot of money. You're playing a game you like at the highest level. It's like you said, it's very easy to get caught up in those things, whether it's you being selfish or you not being able to overcome the distractions or things that are kind of pushing you to that point. But again, now that I've been able to go through those things and fall on my feet or land on my feet, even though it's, during the pandemic, tough times, I figured, being at other facilities and working and doing things at these facilities, teaching kids how to play baseball and trying to, push that mentor side into it as well, the consulting side into it as well. I didn't have enough space. I didn't have enough opportunity to really spread my wings the way I felt that I needed to. So against all odds, get the book. I decided to go ahead and branch out and get a facility to where I would have that leeway to do not only the baseball side of things, the mentoring side of things, the consulting side of things, and to really give these kids an outlet to come out, learn the game of baseball, become better ball players, but ultimately become better people, learn how to navigate through the recruiting process, and just be able to pass over some knowledge to them. And hopefully when they get to a certain level, they start passing that thing down because, I watch a good podcast now. I Am Athlete with Brandon Marshall, Channing Crowder, Ocho Cinco, and Fred Taylor. They talk a lot about that. From a wealth side, wealth should get passed down. But as they mentioned to us, a lot of times as Black athletes, we're passing it up because we got to take care of the fam. You know what I'm saying? We got to take care of moms. We got to take care of grandma, pops, aunts, uncles, so on and so forth. So we passing it up. So we never really get that true generational wealth, whether it's knowledge or money. So although it's not just to my family members, I'm wanting or working to pass down that knowledge, that I gathered over my years down to the youth so that they can continue to pass that thing down to whoever they come across. So that's some of the things I'm doing now. I'm hoping to branch out into my hometown of Iberia and do something like I'm doing here in Dallas, the Dallas-Fort Worth area at some point, building a lot of relationships, meeting a lot of people. Hopefully that process will happen a lot quicker than anticipated. But, right now we're 7 months in. Things are going well. Things are going real well from that standpoint. Obviously, you want to start seeing a return on your investment, but we all know that takes a little bit more time. But to get the traffic during a pandemic, the consistent traffic during a pandemic says a lot. I know we have the vaccination now and stuff like that makes it easier, but so far, knock on wood, we've never had a time where it was like, damn, it's crickets in here today. We don't have nobody coming in for a week straight. So that's a credit not only to what we put out there as far as how we want to conduct ourselves. We got heat, we got AC, it's a nice little vibe at the facility. So people want to come and the instruction is quality. It's top notch.
Absolutely. Tell the people the name of your facility.
It's True You Athletics, TRUYOU Athletics. It's Fort Worth, Texas. It's in Fort Worth, Texas. Fort Worth, Texas. See that twang coming out? I'm starting to talk too fast, but and maybe it's the tequila. It's just tequila that's getting to me a little bit.
It's all right, baby.
but it's in Fort Worth, Texas, man. We at True You, at TRUYOU, Crew, CREW, Facebook, at TRUYOU, True You _athletics, IG. I post a lot of things about what's going on at the facility when we're having camps and stuff like that on my Facebook page as well as the IG page. But, we're looking to grow this thing and hopefully get some fields in a bigger area to do some things and really dive into helping these young men grow, these young women grow as athletes and as people. Absolutely.
It's a beautiful thing. There's some things that you mentioned that really shouldn't be glossed over in this entire interview, to be quite honest. Number one, you're a Black male who's made it to see at this point 40s, which we all know is a challenge these days. Dealing with the social climate of everything we got going on with the racial injustice and the multiple news coverings of Black males being shot and killed by police or otherwise. I'd like to just get your sense of where you feel, the Black male is in today's America. And also I want you to take a moment to speak to those Black males who may have felt depressed or who may be challenged with some of the things you challenged with, not only as an adult, but as a young male who may not see, even though he may listen to this podcast and may see you as somebody who's made it, may still not see themselves as being someone who can make it in the sport of baseball and let alone make it in this current climate where the Black male seems to be the prey.
Man, it's a lot, hopefully, we have enough time for me to kind of dive in. I'm gonna be real specific and to the point, but
right.
When we're talking about the climate, man, it's crazy because you just never know Back then, back in the day, maybe even, let's just even say 7, 8 years ago, as a black man, we always knew if we saw the cops, if they were passing by or behind us in the car, we always thought about getting stopped. Mm-hmm. Just getting stopped. Mm-hmm. Maybe even getting questioned. There was a possibility of maybe even getting put in the back of the car. Mm-hmm. It's just like, man, I hope they don't mess with me. That was the mindset. Like, I hope they don't fool with me. To now, like, even myself, I hope I can go home.
Right.
I hope I get the chance to go home. I hope I get the chance to see tomorrow.
Right.
Because, I mean, it's sad that you have to ride around with eyes behind your head, eyes on the side of your head, and the ones that you got looking forward. And it's almost like you're walking on eggshells because you just never know. Mm-hmm. We all have bad days. We all might be upset about something. But what if that guy or that girl, that lady in that car with the sirens and the badge is having a day? Mm-hmm. Or are you riding around in the area that otherwise you probably shouldn't be riding, even though you probably live in that area?
Right.
Like, so it's hard to really say what to do in that type of situation as the person who is getting pulled over, getting stopped. I can't really say. I just know me, and as a black man, anytime I've gotten pulled over a couple times since all of this stuff has been going on over the last few years, and I just try to be as quick as possible with my license and insurance. My hands on the steering wheel, they're already in my hand. My window is down, and I'm handing it over. And I just try to be as cautious as possible when it comes to that whole process. And it's still in the back of my mind. I'm nervous. My heart is beating, man. And there's really no way to combat that or to approach it, because you just never know, man. You just never know. So best way possible, staying calm as possible. Just trying to be, for me, it's hard to say, but less confrontational, whether you question them or not. Let's just get this over with real quick so I can get on my way. Mm-hmm. If you're writing me a ticket, write me a ticket. Let's just go, and don't want to carry it on any further than we need to, because you never know what the hell can happen. But it's just sad that it's going on and it's happening consistently. And it seems like nobody's really worried about it from that standpoint of authority, because they continue to do it and people are not being held accountable enough. But on the flip side of it, man, when you're talking about growing as a young black male, going through the trenches and trying to make it to whatever level you're trying to make it to in life, it doesn't have to be sports, it's just whatever. Having that plan, setting those goals, and understanding that anything worth having won't be easy to attain. You're going to have to work. You're going to get knocked down. You're going to have to climb over some hills. And during that time, you may fall upon some depressed times. You may feel that you can't do it. But if you have that plan, okay, you have that end-all be-all goal at the end of it, and you consistently remind yourself and put yourself in situations or around people that can help you grow into that or accomplish that goal, it's going to happen. It might not happen in a time frame that you want it to, but at some point, if you continue to push, despite it all, it's going to happen. And when it comes to dealing with that depression, man, when I first encountered depression, I didn't know. And one of my pitching coaches, he brought it to my attention, CJ. And he was like, man, I think you're depressed and I can get you some help. I told him, man, I'm all right. I'm good. I didn't know, ignorant to that, number one. And number two, having too much pride. But I knew something was wrong with me because I was standoffish. Anytime somebody called me, it was a hassle for me to answer the phone. I was just in a slump. Like, it was just, feel like it was just, I just felt so heavy. And I just really didn't know what it was, man. And it took me a couple of years to really really, I guess, come to grips with being depressed. So I guess if I had to say this, if somebody mentions anything, and whether it's you, CJ, anybody else that sees something in somebody and think that they are going through that rough time, don't be afraid to bring it up. Obviously, there's a strategic way in doing so, but we got to figure that out and help our young brothers and sisters when they're going through that, because we all cry for help in some way or another. You know, I was shopping, going out, spending money during my depressed state, and somebody saw it, but my pride got in the way, and the fact that I didn't know. And for those who may be going through that state, if somebody sees it, somebody that you can truly trust and believe that they're only out for your best interest, please take heed to what they're saying, because especially nowadays, they're not just saying it just to say it, or saying it because they think you're not being who you should be. They're saying it because they truly see something that's really taken away from you flourishing as a person. So, you know, easier said than done, but if it's something positive, it's something that can help you, especially going through rough times, do your best to take heed to it and to focus on whatever it is that person is trying to help you through.
Absolutely. I couldn't have said it better. I think one of the things that my sister, that, you know, raised me, has always told me and still tells me to this day, because as you know, as a grown man, we still struggle with some of those adolescent, youth-like issues. They just become issues that only we, at times, are aware of. But people that were around us since we were young, that were close to us while we were growing up, they know our vices or our challenges, right, as people. So she always told me to never do anything as far as drugs, alcohol, or, you know, you mentioned the spending, which can be a symptom of depression. But whatever it is, never do it when you're feeling down, because that becomes what you go to the next time you feel down. It's connected to your emotions. So, you know, I'm feeling sad, let me go drink. I'm feeling sad, let me go smoke. I'm feeling sad, let me go buy something to make me feel good. But every time you feel that emotion, that's what you're going to reach out to as your outlet to make yourself feel better. And it's only going to still be there until you address it.
Believe me, I know. I mean, after you buy all these clothes or whatever it is, or you go spend some money at the strip club or whatever, you know, you buy a bottle here, you're back to square one after you leave that club, after you leave that mall. It really does nothing for you in the long run. Right.
Absolutely. So I know we had a good talk from New Iberia all the way to Dallas Fort Worth. But this episode is obviously to highlight yourself, but as we see on your shirt, we're also highlighting someone else. Give us a little bit of give us some more of what Be Like CJ means.
Well, you know, just in a nutshell, being around his dad, Cedric Harris Sr., his mom, Marie Ferdinand Harris, she was a big time athlete coming out of high school, superstar athlete at LSU in basketball, first rounder in the WNBA draft. Said senior, big time athlete coming out of Ashdown, Arkansas. Played at LSU, got drafted, played in the minor leagues for a few years. Couldn't shake injuries, wasn't able to play in the big leagues. Well, those two came together. Marie and Ced, I kind of put them together, man. They knew each other in college and stuff like that. But Marie hit me up a while back, and I was saying a while back, probably back in 2003, 2004, somewhere around then, looking for Ced. Like, hey, I'm passing through his neck of the woods. You got his number, so I know Ced's a private person. And I was like, let me check with him first. So, he gave it the okay. And, next thing you know, 2-3 years later, they married. So I feel responsible for that relationship. But also that's why, CJ said Jr. is such an important person to me as well. But the Be Like CJ movement, man, CJ Harris was a big time athlete, big time person that I learned about, during the whole time that he was going through his trauma with the accident and things like that. I always knew he worked hard as a ball player, as an athlete, but, learning who he was as a person, caring for people, being that real volunteer, that real philanthropist, that real whatever you want to call him. When it comes to, he was the popular guy, but he made the lesser known people popular as well. Like I said, his extreme work ethic, not only as an athlete, but as a person, is what the whole Be Like CJ movement is. He was the true definition of being that great person, having courtesy, having compassion, being a leader, any type of word that you want to describe a person that you can put into one that makes that person great. He fit the bill for all of it. He covered all bases. So the Be Like CJ movement is that, take a piece of what he done in his life and apply it to yours. Young kid at age of 14 to do so much and to touch so many people is amazing. And he was able to do that in that shorter period of time. He never questioned God like folks always say, but this kid had a lot more to give to this world, man. And it's unfortunate that we won't be able to see it live in the flesh, but the fact that so many people are carrying out his name and carrying out the Be Like CJ movement, we're going to see a lot of his work being done through us all.
Absolutely. And you mentioned it. It's a Be Like CJ movement. Stars across, all sports have mentioned CJ's name, but, at the end of the day, it's a genuine loss of life by Mr. Harris, and that can't be replaced, nor can be, supplemented by people placing a hashtag somewhere. But what you can do, as you mentioned, is donate to the foundation that will forever live out his name and continue to show others, what CJ brought to this world while he was on this earth. And like you mentioned, people can learn from him in the short amount of time that he was able to be here and kind of model their own life after what he was able to accomplish in his short life.
Definitely. A little piece of him goes a long way, man. And it's like I said, it's crazy. It's amazing that this guy was doing so much. He was that super athlete, but he did so many other things away from the ball field, away from the track, away from the court.
Absolutely. Well, I can't tell you enough how honored I feel to be the one to introduce you and host you and ask you some questions today. You've been true, and that just speaks to your moniker of True U Athletics. You have been a true friend. You unwavered over the years, and the thing that people may not know because you do it so well is that folks that play together on teams, especially professional teams, don't always keep in touch. It's I'm with you while we're playing together, and then I forget about you when we're not. I think it speaks to your character and just the person who you are, that you've been able to maintain some genuine relationships outside of, baseball and keep ties with people. And I just feel truly honored to be your friend, coming from different places in this country and meeting up in regards to baseball, but definitely, growing old and getting gray hair and raising these kids has been a joy. So, just having this platform to speak on the the things that the athletes that you've had on your show would like to share. It's just been a blessing. I'm sure the others feel the same way I have to be a guest of yours, but to have this platform to talk about things in a unfiltered, unedited setting. You spoke on some of your previous episodes with your guests. You can say whatever you want here. This is a free microphone. So, but this doesn't go unnoticed. And I just want you to know that you should continue to do what you're doing and continue to be, like we said, that unicorn that will continue to spread that to make more unicorns in this world.
Definitely, man. It's a lot of underdogs out there, bro. And I think we are those type of people, and we need to be heard. So it's only right to be able to create a platform to do so. I appreciate you, taking the time to do that, because you got more kids than me. So I know it could be hectic when it comes to raising kids and doing a job and taking care of wifey and the household and all of that stuff. So we're going to continue to try to keep it real and organic, unfiltered, unedited, and shed some light on some of the things that we've been through in life as people, not only as athletes, and help people learn from that and grow and hopefully not make some of the mistakes we made along the way, or at least give them an outlet to have a second thought or a second outlook or a different perspective on whatever it is that they're looking to do.
Absolutely. So, ladies and gentlemen, you're looking at collegiate, graduate, professional baseball player, overseas baseball player, leader of his community, just an overall outstanding, upstanding guy in Shane Youman.
Man, I appreciate you, bro. It was kind of tough. I didn't know what to expect. You asked the right questions. I think we got a lot out there. Being a guest, I've done podcasts in the past, but the fact that I'm actually sharing in depth the things that I went through as a person, as an athlete, I'm going to go back and think, man, did I forget something? Did I say the right things or whatever it is? But I think you helped me garner those things. And before we go, man, I'm going to get your opinion on this. And it's something I've always wanted to ask nowadays with folks. I don't know if it's the cool thing or not, CJ, but, we say a lot of things and I almost just blurted it out to the hell of it. But nowadays, if we say, yeah, we played together, we got to say no homo or pause. Right. Like, what the fuck? Like, why? Like, what's up with that? Like, why do people feel the need to say, and I might catch some flack for saying no homo, but they say pause and all of that to make it think like I'm a man. Like, don't get it twisted. You know what I'm saying? Or catch ball. If somebody say they caught balls. Yeah. Pause. Like, why you think that is a thing?
I honestly don't know. I don't subscribe to that.
Me either. But
but you hit. I think in general, there's that's why this is so good for the people that are coming up, because there's obviously a generational gap between what we experience, and now we're starting to be, if we aren't already, the get off my lawn old guys. But you can really start to see the shift. You can start to see the shift as we grow older, and as we continue to grow older, of just just candid conversations. In-person conversations are being replaced by social media, text messages and text conversations, and playing outside has been replaced with playing video games. I remember I was at the basketball court with my son, and the little guy walked up to me and he asked me if I wanted to play 1v1, and I was like, what the hell is 1v1?
One-on-one.
You want to play one-on-one? Like he was speaking in video game.
Or text mode.
Yeah. So and then we talked about how we both play basketball. The guys these days, they want to roll up their shorts 17 times so that they're shorter, and they got the big roll at the top. It's just different. We were the baggy shorts, and they had to be long towards the knee. So this, the whole, all the terms that they use and the, politically correct terms, and the being, having racial sensitivity classes and things like that. Those are all things that are in this new age of people these days. So you just gotta, try to drop some knowledge every now and again. But how it is, how it goes. We did some stuff that our elders thought were crazy. And we did think the same about these youth. So just continue to, we know what it is. Keep yourself, and it'll come around. It's always full circle. So it'll come back around. But
no doubt. I just wanted to ask that question because we say things and don't think anything of it. And maybe some people listening, questioning us, but I always start to ask that question, and I don't feel it's a need to say something like that. Not saying that you're not secure, but just make it known that you don't have to make it known that you're secure in your masculinity, whatever you choose to follow. by putting emphasis on something here or there. But man, again, like you said, it's been classic, bro. And I appreciate you once again. This is the League Talk Podcast. Boom, and we out.